Okay, so today I'm going to teach you something that is very, very important to me because it's essentially the method to break down how I've gotten to where I am at this point. This method can be used when it comes to learning any set of skills, but I'm going to be speaking about it in the context of filmmaking and art in general. So, in my case, I had a larger goal of being able to get the ideas in my head out visually. That was storytelling, that was image making, painting, drawing, filmmaking, all together. So, what I did was I first figured out the version of the final. Like the initial step of this whole process is understanding where you'd like to go. You can get really detailed. You can say, all right, I'd like to make feature films that are like Dune or something. That's what you want to do. You want to make a project that's that scale, big movie, etc., right? And once you understand that, you can break it down into what I use as a skill tree. A skill tree is basically the same thing that is used in video games. You have a larger skill that is a combination skill that you like to achieve, and then you dissect it into smaller parts. And by doing this and effectively breaking these things down, you can chop it up into a bunch of smaller skills in subcategories, learning them one by one, piece by piece, step by step, and eventually it will just add up to you being able to do the actual thing that you want to do. So the first step of this stuff is a foundation. As a foundation, you need to understand what it means to do the thing, not just what you think it means to do the thing. So if I want to make a film, right, I'd have to understand what makes up the image, what makes up the sound, what makes up acting, a script, everything, like just piece by piece by piece. I may not have to do all of those things myself, but one of the major keys is to just understand what's going on. You need to know this. So, in order to find that out, there are several routes in. For example, you could go to a film school. You could watch other YouTube videos like this one. You can speak to professionals in the industry. You can mail people, email them to seek out mentorship or consulting. You can just try making stuff on your own. There's a lot of different pieces that come together to understanding what it is to do the thing. But as soon as you have that, you're in a pretty good spot. That is a great way to understand and set your target. So in my case, I want to make movies. I want to make feature films. I love this stuff. So the skill tree that I made up when I was maybe 19, 20, this was when I was starting art school. I started to understand this idea. I thought about it where I'm building some skills, but I'd like to combine them and bridge them together into something bigger. So at the very bottom of this thing here, you will see the base. This is no skill and some vision. You kind of understand where you're going, and of course eventually over time this stuff gets more refined and your vision will change and grow and become more accurate or augmented. But that's where you start. You start at this level with zero skill. Some vision, zero skill. In my case, I want to make movies. Like, I planned for a large goal of a complete cinematic scene, a pitch, a story package, design, build, matte painting, visual effects, and compositing. And then later on, I'd be scaling it up to goal 2. So what I did was I chopped it up into the zones of art, film, and technology. I was going to an animation school called Sheridan College out in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. That is a school run by a bunch of Disney people, former Disney people, other artists in the industry, people that made things in animation in the US, Canada, and some international. And that space was great for understanding a bit of all of these things. The focus I had, the job, was art. So it was literal drawing, painting, perspective, drafting, tone and rendering, color, etc. Like a raw foundation and just being able to make things. With that, it gives you the foundation to be able to draw or paint whatever you want, regardless of what object it is. Then the next step was anatomy, animals and people, architecture, nature. So this is getting into the details of things, understanding how these things come about, how they're built, etc. Then there's costume and dressing and a design sense. Once you can make stuff, you also need to develop and refine your taste. So design sense came in handy. The next zone was film. Animation school is film school. It's animation is acting with a pencil. All of the lessons that we had in school, all of the basic guidance was to teach us how to make films using animation as a medium. So this has things like composition, shot vocabulary, editing, post-color, sound, all of these other things, like just regular old filmmaking. Because this is a film thing, and I needed practice, there was a point when I also noted I will need to upgrade my gear. The equipment that I use, that I used over time, went from a Canon T2i up to my current camera, which is an Arri Alexa XT. I will do a video about that and show you how to go from 0 to 1. I don't say 0 to 100 because you're just aiming for a thing and you get to the thing. There's a lot more to it. Anyway, not important right now. The other part is shooting experience. You need to get behind a camera often. This was another thing that was about me owning the kit. I needed to own something, a camera, a small camera. At the time when I started, phone cameras were trash. They existed, but it was really early. So that was quite some years ago. And then that would lead up to a major story. The other side is the tech. The tech is just all of the programs and software and other technology-based systems that need to be learned. Back then, when I was starting, what I learned was Autodesk Maya, 3ds Max, ZBrush, Nuke, Marvelous Designer for clothing, Daz 3D, Houdini. I didn't really need to learn that for much. World Machine, Substance, etc. for texturing, all of that. So basically, this branch just gave me the ability to build stuff. And then we have rigging, lighting, and animation aside from the other stuff. So these kind of bridge together. But through these things, art, film, and technology, I should be able to, in theory, draw and create whatever I want from my head. So the idea of saying, I have a design, I want to make it, I can get it out of my head using pencil and paper to solve it. If I need to understand the shot language and build something around a story and scenario, I can design these shots so that they will be clear and understood. A lot of the art skill, the art aspects were linked because, in animation itself, you're solving these things, you're storyboarding. So you need the technical ability to be able to communicate effectively using the understanding of composition and shot vocab, right? When you're designing a project in sequence and you've written something, you need the ability to edit it and to present it in a clean way that other people will understand. These technical aspects will allow you to more effectively create those things. There may be better processes or shortcuts or routes in, but altogether these things will help. So they kind of bounce back onto each other, where the rigging and lighting and stuff for 3D, even animation and storyboarding, pour back into the filmmaking and live action, because if you know how to light something in 3D, you'll have a better sense of how to light it in stop motion. You'll have a better sense on how to light actual people walking around on a real set. If you understand how to storyboard and make something clear, and you've drawn something and drawn perspective and layout, and you've worked in 3D so you understand your angles and lenses, it will be the same as you moving a camera to an extent, right? And again, your design sense and your taste overall, by becoming familiar with things such as the medium itself, will start to change and inform how you make decisions on this. So all of these things will be bundled under the banner of a major story. So when creating stories, a lot of the time we have to do pitches and develop ideas. The major story starts to become something where you have a purpose now. So you have the technical skills to do the thing, which is this big bundle, right? And then you have a major story, a reason why you're doing it, a thing that you'd like to tell, something that you'd like to convey. So the colors would make sense because you have emotion and the tone and a story that you need to communicate. So by communicating, you can design things and curate things to better reinforce the message through, overt messaging or subtext, underlying messaging. From this major story, you come up with that, you develop the project Bible, which is everything from your synopsis, your script, your general pitch idea, your character designs, your world building, any of the other things you'd need to make your story, depending on the style, if it's live action or animated. You basically build up everything you need for production. Then you have a skill, which is this under part, combined with a purpose. So when you have a greater purpose, your stories and everything become more potent. So your purpose is first, which is the raw foundation. Your story is how you convey this purpose. You use the purpose to guide what you're doing, and that reinforces it, so you can decide what stories make the most sense to push the idea of your purpose. Even if it's not really clearly stated, it can come through. And when you have that, it becomes a great reason to do something. The other part that I haven't stated here is that this stuff is a ton of work if you haven't already got the idea of that. But understanding that it's a ton of work, it becomes easier when you have a really good reason. Everybody can find their reason along the way. It may be just wanting to live the life you want to live. It may be the ideas they come to you and you need them out. Like in my case, I dream in movies. I dream up a lot of scenarios. And on top of that, I want to live a certain way. And I realized that what makes me genuinely happy is bringing these concepts to life and then using them for change. So that's what my purpose is. I have found different ways of packaging that. So that's why I'm having fun with this, and I've been able to keep going for several years. And then the other part, which is a large goal. So you have this goal. This one here was a complete cinematic scene based on a pitch and a story package, design, built, potential matte painting, VFX, compositing, right? And then once this scene is set and I've done this and I have a prototype version, then I can scale it up. In my case, now I'm at the point where I am going to be making short films. I've spent some time learning cinematography. I spent a lot of time learning matte painting, visual effects, and architectural visualization, and drawing, painting, color scripting, storyboarding, animating, right? Acting, writing, all of these things, piece by piece by piece, to become, part of my skill set, so that I can go further and express myself and tell these stories effectively. I'm now at the point as well where, of course, I'm not going to be doing all of this on my own, but if I needed to, I know how to do the essential things. As a side note, when it comes to making films, I usually think of it in a very, very simple way. You have a camera, you have something that you're pointing it at, which is people, usually, and then you have sound. And that is it. I think of it like that. And if you can understand that and simplify it, you'll have an easier time jumping into it. Of course, all of these things, they're going to change. The items on the list will change. You're going to find different things to slot in that mean more to you or are applicable to what you're doing. But in general, this is it. This is the skill tree method. This is how I tend to organize everything that I do. For example, when it comes to taking photos, I have other aspects of like photos and photography that I'm breaking down that are useful to me. So I would spend, for example, a month learning about sharpening and visual perception of sharpness. I took some time, I did photo shoots, I learned some techniques, and I saw people doing fashion editorial stuff, and I said, oh, their sharpening looks very interesting under this agency. this always looks refined in a certain way. I need to know why. What do they do? And when I practiced it and I studied it and I dug deep, I understood their methods of sharpening. From that, I was able to immediately refine the quality of my images. But I chose one subcategory of a skill and then studied that deliberately. Once you do that, it gets easier. Of course, you have to be patient, but realistically, you can do it. You can definitely do it. It's just take your major task, your major goal, and realistically, it could be a sub goal that you want to stack even further. You can make this a fractal if you need to, but you have a goal, you break it down into parts, you get as much information as you can to understand it, and then you start. And another thing about starting is you make sure the step is small, right? So if it comes to drawing a picture, practice just drawing your lines. You know, you can have like a 30-minute startup, a 5-minute startup every day where you just have your book on your desk. It's already open. You have paper on your desk. You can tape it down. I did that in college, by the way. I needed to complete stuff, and I knew that if I wanted to get it done, I had to put it in my way. But yeah, I set it up where I just, have a practice of saying, I need to refine my line quality. I need to refine my overlaps. I need to practice my pencil control or, technique overall. So I would just do that. I'd make that normal. I make that the warm-up. And then I have studies that I do, and I study anatomy, and I have my repetitions of that. And then I'd say, okay, I'm going to draw X amount of portraits, X amount of hands, X amount of feet, whatever. And you start to make these things as like a routine. And with that and the intent of saying, okay, in maybe a month or 2 to 3 months, I'm going to become comfortable drawing hands, or comfortable sharpening an image, or comfortable composing using a wide angle lens, right? You pick whatever it is, you make that normal, and you just walk forward, step by step by step. In the grand scheme of things, one of the biggest differentiators between people who get there and people that don't is the ones that get there kept walking. You can walk slow, you can take little detours, but as long as you keep walking, you'll eventually get there. And the key in this thing is to enjoy it enough, enjoy what you do enough, so that you can enjoy the walk instead of just getting to the thing. Getting to the thing is awesome. Checkpoints are awesome. But a lot of things will surprise you. When you get to certain points on your journey, you're going to realize that, wow, oh my goodness, I've actually come this far. I've actually, been on this journey that long, or my skill set is massively different from where I was a few years ago. You'll realize that, but you may not always feel it. So I think that if you can enjoy what you do as a whole, it will be much easier for you. All right. So that is the gist of what I wanted to share with you today. This is the skill tree. I'd like for you to try and apply this in your day-to-day life. I'm going to do something to make this format available to people, but realistically, you can just drop your own. I initially, in college, had mine drawn on this very large sheet of life drawing paper and marker. I taped it to my wall, and I just went up the wall as a list and started checking things off one by one. So, yeah, that's basically how it goes. There's not really that much more to it. It's just dissect the thing down into small steps, get as informed as you can, build habits around the subsections, and keep walking. So that is it. If you know anybody that you think could benefit from this, share this with them. Pass it on. If you have anything that you're trying to achieve long term and you'd like help breaking it down, drop that in the comments. Also, subscribe to this channel. I'm making an effort, my version of my current stage of walking forward is this channel. I intend to make this channel useful, and I want to keep uploading. I want to keep making stuff. I want to keep sharing things that have been beneficial to me, that have also helped my friends, and may be beneficial to you too. So, yep, that is it for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this or watch this or take this in, however you did. And yeah, until next time, peace.